Hey everyone, it's Miranda here from This Really Do's Education Design Team, and I've got a start to finish process video today for y'all on how I created this canvas. It's a 10-inch by 5-inch canvas, and I got this at a garage sale and just altered it. But this is completely inspired by Finnabar. I know she's getting more and more popular. I mean, she's just amazing, hugely inspiring to me. So I wanted to try my hand at a collage canvas, but I wanted to kind of make it my own and do a few things different. But hugely inspired by Finnabar. She's amazing if you guys haven't checked her out. So I did this, and I just want to show you how I created like the background textures, and I did some embossing and resisting and just different techniques. I let a lot of the metal show through. I didn't quite cover everything up like most of the people are doing. Oops, my little R is coming off. Excuse me, y'all. But I let a lot of the metal show through because I really like the metal look. And I love this door knocker over here. So I just created tons of texture. Those are her new numerals and her little clocks as well. So anyway, in the wrench here, and this is just a picture of my niece, and the title of it is Life in Her Eyes. I love this picture of her, and I did it in black and white purposely so she would be, you know, standing out from the rest of it. So I hope you guys enjoy the start to finish process video, and if you have any questions at the end, just shoot me a comment down below. Okay, so the first thing I'm doing is I'm taking some masking tape. Just regular masking tape you can get at any store, and I'm just tearing it into little strips because originally when I started doing this canvas I was going to have a lot more of the background showing, but then I ended up going completely with coverage on it. So a lot of this work is, you know, going to get covered up, but it's still really pretty just for future projects. This technique is really awesome, just tearing masking tape into strips, and then I'm using a Prima stamp to stamp on top of them. And you'll want to use a Stays-On ink because if you're doing any misting or painting on top of this, I find that other inks, especially like distress inks, will start to bleed or run. So I'm just placing the masking tape down and then stamping directly on top of it. And now I've taken some script tissue paper. I love working with tissue paper. I usually add a lot more texture with it, but for this one I was just kind of going for more coverage. So I don't do a lot of wrinkles and I just kind of keep it flat. But I'm just using Mod Podge to adhere it down, and I'm going all the way over the canvas to adhere this down and get some good coverage on there. Again, I thought a lot more was going to show through, but when I ended up doing the canvas and playing with my arrangement, I ended up covering up pretty much everything except for the left top side. And now I'm using a white gelato. This is from the November Technique kit. I'm just kind of using it to whitewash different areas over the masking tape and anywhere where there was texture. And then I'm going to use some smooch spritz from that same November Technique kit to spritz on top of there to kind of manipulate and move the gelatos around. And now I'm using some tinted tape. This is almost like a film strip tape that I've had in my stash for quite some time. And I'm just adhering it down, and it's really dark, so it adds just a contrast, but of course I will end up going over it with gelatos as well to kind of blend it in, and then I ended up going in with a little bit of gesso as well to kind of make it look like there was no beginning and end to it. Kind of covered up the ends of it, so it looked just like it was torn. So again, just going in with the gelatos and the smooch spritz to move it around. And you'll see here I've got everything pretty much arranged on here how I'm wanting it, and I'm going in with a pencil and marking any areas of that canvas that are still going to show. And I always take a picture with my iPad to mark how I had everything, because if you're doing a lot of layers or a collage like this, when you get everything off of there, you kind of forget where things go. So I always play around first and see where I want things to go before I even begin to glue things down. So now I'm taking a floral stamp, kind of like a swirly floral stamp from my stash, and I am just stamping on top of there with Versamark, and I'm adding white embossing powder. Typically when I do an emboss resist I'll use a clear one, but I really wanted this one to stand out from all the spraying going on that's going to be in the background. And a tip for doing this on canvas, you'll find you don't get a good impression if you're pushing down. So I'll take my hand and push from the back, the opening in the back of the canvas, upwards into the stamp, so that way you get a really good impression. So I'm just heat setting the embossing powder. And now I'm adding some laces down the right side over there. The laces just end up taking the sprays so well, and it really makes it super pretty in the background to see the texture there. And then off of the right side, the little ends of it will be showing, which is really pretty. So my major colors for this were brown and pink, but I also added bits of white, a little bit of a grayish blue, and then a little bit of black too. So I'm using brown and white laces, and then you'll see me go in a minute and use a little bit of black lace as well. And a lot of times when you see these canvas collages, people will adhere all of their elements down and then do a super thick coat of gesso on top of it so everything is just white, almost like completely covered. But I kind of wanted a lot of the metal to show through still, so I'm taking my embellishments, my metal pieces, and I'm just going over them with a little bit of gesso in different areas, just randomly hitting them with gesso. So that way the sprays will adhere to the gesso and be colored, but a lot of the metal will still show through. And I'm going over my flowers as well with a little bit of gesso because it just makes the mulberry paper take the spray differently than the gessoed part will, so it creates a really pretty variation. And this is really easy and fun to do, y'all. I hope that you're getting on this video that it's just all about playing and getting stuff out of your stash and having fun. It's a really relaxing and fun way to craft. And I'm going to end up, I have two of those same canvases, so maybe in a later video I will do the other one for my nephew, and it's going to be more grungy, and I'll probably attach them with chain or something together. So now I've got my iPad off to the side showing how I had everything arranged to begin with, and I'm going to start adhering everything down. For papers or anything like plastic, I'll typically just use hot glue, but when it comes to metal embellishments, I like to use E6000 because it is very strong, and I found that hot glue just pretty much falls off of the metal and your pieces will eventually come off. But a lot of times when I am using E6000, if it's a big metal item or something curved that I need to stay in place, I'll put E6000 first, and then I will put a little bit of hot glue to keep it in place until the E6000 is dry. I'm just using a clock key there from Tim Holtz. I love those so much. A lot of the items I used on here I got from my honey's shop. I will periodically go out there and just raid his shop and see if he's got any new stuff. Wrenches, nails, screws, bolts, washers, anything I can get out there I usually take. He's got some really cool stuff most of the time. And that is one of those door knockers. It's an art I cake charm, and it's really pretty and really girly, and I just had to incorporate that onto the canvas somehow. And I do end up straying a little bit from how I originally had everything placed, because as you're going and really gluing things down, you can kind of see where gaps would be, and you just kind of fill it in with extra stuff as you go along. And this canvas didn't take nearly as much embellishments as some of my other ones I have done do. These do end up, taking quite a bit of supplies out, but this one wasn't as bad as other ones. That's just a tiny little screw there from my honey shop. That is a Prima resin corner piece that came from last month's kit, the recipe box kit. I had two of those left over. This is the picture of my niece that I printed out black and white because I wanted her to stand out from all the color going on in the background. And I didn't use pop dots here. I always just use spare chipboard to create dimensional things to make this stand out and pop up off the canvas. I've never bought pop dots or anything. I always just use chipboard, scrap pieces of chipboard. And now I'm going to use a little baby wrench that my honey had given me a whole set of. I think it's absolutely adorable, so I'm going to put a big amount of the E6000 on there because it's pretty heavy and I definitely want it to stay adhered to the canvas. And now I'm going to start the spraying, and I just cover up my photo with a paper towel, and I just start spraying with the pinks first, a couple different colors of pinks, and before I go to the next color family like the browns, I will heat set the pink first, because I find if I just spray them all while they're wet, they will kind of run together and get really muddy looking, so I like it to be more defined, so I just heat set it between each different set of colors. So this is basically it, y'all. I hope you guys are encouraged to give this a try. It's super fun, a really way to just release some creative energy. I hope you guys like my start to finish process, and if you guys have any questions on anything I've done here, just leave me a comment down below, and I hope everybody has a beautiful day.